Okay, this is the plug harness for the switch I'm using to operate the fold in and out. And as you can see here, one of the slots is not being used. Now this truck of mine, the 2006, it came pre-wired for adjustable pedals, and the connector fit the switch I bought. So I just went and clipped this out of that wire loom, capped the lines, and reusing it. So let's start here with on the bottom row where all four are being used. Start here in the top left hand side, count it as pin number 1. On this it's blue orange, and it runs to relay number 1, post number 86. The second wire or pin is red with a blue tracer. Of course, if you're using a generic, they're going to be whatever you make them, but this is what I have: red with a blue tracer, and it is the trigger power in. That'll be 12 volts coming into the switch, and then when you use the switch, it will send that trigger signal out to the respective relays, depending on which way you push the button. Pin number 3 and 4 are both grounds. Pin 3 and 4 are both grounds. Now 4 is the first one down below, or the one in the line that has an empty slot. And then pin number 5 on the connector is not being used. Pin 6 is another ground. Pin 7, I'm not using it, so it's just the wire was there. I just looped it back in on itself. But then pin 8 on this is blue with a black tracer, and it is your trigger signal going out to relay number 2, and that would also be pin number 86 on the relay. Pin number 86 on the relay. So when it's all said and done, you just have the 2 wires coming from, if you're using this style of connector, the 2 wires running to your relay. Again, if you know how a relay works, the trigger coming in just closes the circuit. It closes the circuit and then allows the higher amperage power to flow through the relay. That way you're not pulling all that amperage through these little switches. So that's the way that works. I'll get started on getting this all put together, and then we'll go over the relay setup I'm using. Okay, when I'm when I'm wiring things, I have a label maker, and I make all kinds of labels. That way, as I'm laying it out and working my way through it, I know what's going where, and then when it's all said and done, I'll take the labels off. But for right now, I'll go ahead and show you. This is the dual relay I have set up to control the mirrors. One relay will control the power for folding in. One will control the power for folding out. So on relay number 1, pin 30, well, actually both relays, pin 30 will be power, the higher amperage power going out to the mirrors. The first relay will tell it to say fold in. The second relay will be fold out. It's just however you wire it, but that's what I'm using pin 30 for. Pin 85 is ground. Pin 85 is ground on both. Pin 86 on both is the low amperage, low volt trigger, which opens and closes the circuit. So when you press the button for them to fold in, low voltage signal goes from the switch to 86, depending on which way you're going with the mirrors, and it will tell it to either fold in, or it will tell it to open the circuit for the heavy amperage power, and that then makes the motor on the mirror kick in and fold in or fold out. Again, that's 86. Then 87 on both is the higher amperage constant 12 volt. I ran that with a little heavier wire. The trigger wire you don't necessarily need, anything heavy. I'm running 16 and 18. The trigger 20. But, you're not carrying much voltage whatsoever. And then 87A, I just grounded it out. Now, I'm using these because this is what I had on hand. Just a quick word on the relays I used. They are Bosch brand relays, and the reason I chose not only name brand but this particular model is because it has a built-in diode between post 85 and 86 that protects against a surge, backfeed surge. I sure as hell don't want a massive amount of surge coming back through the system. You do whatever you want. I'm just telling you why I used these particular relays. You may use something different. I don't know. Or you may go the factory route if you want to spend that kind of money for the Ford switch, the relay, fold. Yeah, the fold relay. So, but this is what I'm using. Really, you've got, a ground, one wire to the switch, one wire to bring power in for the trigger, and then the rest of this, the other two go out to the mirrors. So let me start putting this together, and I'll show you what I've got when I'm done. I'm going to make a little bracket and put it up under the convenience access, I think is what they call it, the knee board to the right of the fuse panel. And then for me, on the trigger power, the low voltage trigger power, I'm just going to reach up and tie into the power that is already in the harness for the adjustable pedals, because it's just right above it there. So that's what I'm going to do. And then as far as the heavier amperage, I'm going to run that off of I think a dedicated fuse coming from the engine compartment through the I'll use the pass-through harness and use one of those, and put I don't know, a 10 amp maybe fuse on it, and that ought to do it. Anyway, I'll show you what this looks like when it's installed. Okay, I thought I'd show here real quick what I've done with the extendable mirrors, the tow mirrors. You already know I used this switch. Starting on the top, pin number 1 is power out. I used it to move the mirrors out. Pin number 2 is 12 volts coming into the switch. Pin number 3 I did not use. It's just taped off. Pin number 4, ground. Pin number 5, ground. Pin number 6, I did not use, so it's just taped off here. Pin number 7 is blank. They don't have a pin there at all. And then pin 8 is power from the switch out, and I used it to power the mirrors back in. Again, I'm using low voltage power to the switch as a trigger. And then, like the outline here, it runs over to the relays. And the same thing with the N. It runs over to the relays, and the relays are wired up just exactly the way the fold relays are wired up. If you want to go back and look at that diagram, you'll see what I've done. I've got 12 volt constant power running to the relays on a dedicated line, the 10 amp fuse in it, coming from the battery. The trigger power I'm using on the mirror extensions, the tow mirrors, I grabbed off of the power that is available to the switch for the adjustable pedals. I don't have the adjustable pedals, so I used that for my trigger. And of course, I used a little bit lighter line because it's really low amp. Okay, it's time to get this stuff buttoned back up, and then I'll show you how things look then. Okay, this job's done. It's not a horribly difficult job. You're just going to have patience and know how to read a wiring diagram, and take your time. You can spend a ton of money doing this, or you can get by a little cheaper. But no matter what you do, it's gonna cost some dollars. And my personal opinion is this was worth every penny spent and every hour invested in the labor getting it done. If you're thinking about doing this project, don't hesitate, because these mirrors, they are just so much better for visibility than the stock 2006. They're just a world of difference. Again, this is not a how-to. If you do this, you're doing it on your own. You take the risk. I just showed you what I did. If anything I did is helpful, great. You don't have to do it the way I did it. Do it your own way. Do it the way others have done it. But if you're thinking about it, and you've got the money, and you've got the time and ability, it's a good project, and it was well worth it. All right, folks. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.